Hi there, Kira here, and I've got a layout process video using my Wild Hare Kit's August kit. If you haven't seen the unboxing yet, I'll link that below. So I got a lot of like the Little by Little collection and lots of bright colors and blues and yellows and things that I'm into. And I really liked this blue paper with these circles on it. I just thought it was a really pretty paper and I wanted to use it as one of my background papers. So I found a quote on Pinterest and I turned it into cut file because that seems to be a thing that I do now. And I just cut it out on plain white cardstock and then glued it on top of the paper where I wanted it. And then I'm going to go ahead and stitch around it in some yellow thread. And I got to punch all my holes first before I do that. But don't worry, you have to watch this whole process. So I'll punch my holes, I'm going to stitch around it, and then that part will be done, and that'll be my title for the layout. So there it is, completely stitched and lovely. And I want to do some layers up here with my photo. Once I had the picture down, I realized I probably put the words, that word, I probably put it too far left. So I wasn't able to layer as heavily as I maybe wanted to for this layout, but I did get quite a few layers there. The little tag that you're seeing, that's actually from a cut apart sheet from the Lovely Day collection, and I just cut it in half so I could use the tag in two areas of my layering. These are also cut aparts. It says, one says more walk and one says more play. So it's like, there was like ones that says like more, like less work or something, less work, more play, or less talk, more walk, that sort of thing. But I just wanted the walk and the play on there for this layout just because it's my kids kind of walking around. This is outside of the Shiner Brewery that we went to, and they were just playing around in the lawn out front. So I just wanted it to say, the more play, more walk part of it. So I'm using a lot of the paper is from the cut apart sheet from the Lovely Day collection. So there's like two floral pieces there. That's from that cut apart. This is just a piece of paper from the Lovely Day collection that's like rainbow striped. That's just a piece of paper from that collection. I also use a part of the branding strip for some of my layers too. So I've got my layers kind of how I want them there, and I'm going to go ahead and bump them up on some foam, so it gives a little bit of dimension, and I do end up layering over a little bit of the E just because there wasn't really a way for me to have the layers how I wanted them without having to cover up some of that title, just because that's just the way it worked out. Again, I should have planned better. I should have done my layers first and then figured out where I wanted my title, but I always do my stitching first and then come back to it. So next time I know that maybe I shouldn't do that. But it is what it is. I made it work. I just did a little staple at the top where I put that branding strip. I just put a little staple there just to add a little bit more texture to that. I'm going to go ahead and glue down this tag, and I added some black and white baker's twine to it, and I will do my, little twine twirly thing that I do on a lot of my layouts, if I can get it to work. When I do that, I try to kind of let the twine kind of do what it wants. Kind of like twist where it wants to twist and lay where it wants to lay, but sometimes it's a little bit more difficult than others. I'm just going to do a little tiny attacher staple to the edge, just to keep it held on to the edge there. Oh, and I did add a little tag. I don't know if that, I must have cut that part out, but there's a little tag on the bottom too. And that was included in my kit as well. And it's just a circle tag, but I just cut it off on the bottom and put some twine and kind of brought that element to the bottom of the layout as well. For the more play little cut apart piece, I did 2 pieces of foam on that, and I did 1 piece of foam on the more walk piece. So those will be bumped up a little bit, give a little bit dimension. And then, what do I do next? Oh, I'm going to rough up the edges because I feel like the layers are just feeling a little flat. Funny thing about this is I always show my husband my layouts, after I'm done. He really likes seeing them, and I like him to tell me how pretty they are. But I showed him this one, and he's like, uh-oh, this corner got bent down, and he bends it back up, and I was like, no. It's supposed to be like that. I did that on purpose. And he's like, oh, okay. So, silly husbands. So I'm going to take just a little scrap of paper here. And I think this is just part of the tag, that little bonjour tag. But I'm just going to cut a little strip because I just want a little white piece there. So I have a place to stamp my date. I thought that if I stamped it directly on that yellow tag that it might get lost, because the yellow tag's kind of busy with all the little polka dots. So I wanted something else to stamp my date on. And so this car kept getting moved to the layout and off the layout and onto the layout. And I liked it because we kind of took a little day road trip to Shiner this day. So I was like, oh, the car would be cute because obviously we drove there. But I was like, oh, it'd be cute in this corner, but then it just wasn't working for me, and I felt like it needed something more because it's just from the cut apart sheet. So I just cut around it, just fussy cut around it to kind of just make it a little piece of ephemera. And I just felt like it needed something more. And so I thought for a minute that I would hand stitch around it somehow. And that's what I'm thinking right now. Do I hand stitch? Do I not hand stitch? Well, I could hand stitch here, but maybe not all the way around it. So I just was going back and forth about what I want to do with the car. So then I was like, okay, just leave it there for a minute. Let's just figure out something else here. So I decided I needed to bring some pink down to that bottom little cluster. So I didn't really have anything small that was pink that I could add, so I just went ahead and used a heart punch and then just punched a piece of this pink paper that was from the cut apart sheet too, and we're just going to bump the heart up on some foam to give it some dimension, and I thought that added just the right amount of pink to that bottom cluster there. I am going to bring out some thickers. That's what I've got there. So these are the Little by Little collection thickers, and I was gonna see if they had any plus signs, or if I could maybe cut up some of the letters to add, kind of make my own embellishments. But I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I thought maybe I'd want to use some of the thickers later on, so I didn't know if I really wanted to cut a bunch of them up. So I decided that I would use all the little periods in the thicker pack as enamel dots. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm just sticking them on the page as if they're enamel dots. And there was this little @ sign, and I thought, well, that might be cute to put on here, and then maybe right where we were, since we were at the Shiner Brewery. So I was like, well, that might be cute, but it was almost too big, and I think it would have almost been another title. So maybe if I would have had the Every Moment Matters up higher, then I would have been able to put underneath. is kind of like a subtitle to it. But anywhere else in the layout, it just felt too big and like too much. So I decided against that. So I pulled out this One Canoe 2 rotary stamp, which I'm obsessed with. Like, I love this stamp. And then I decided I was going to stamp it in a few places around the layout. But I decided I felt like it's too wide. And I mean, it's good in some cases, like you want it to be wide, but I feel like because if it was not as wide, you could always double stamp it to make it wide, but you can't really like take away when it's wide like that. So I ended up trying to stamp like only ink up part of the stamp to make it a little bit smaller, I guess, which worked kind of, but it was just a lot more work than I wanted to put into it, I guess. So then here I am fiddling with the car again, and just, yeah, it's not going to happen. Just put it aside. Can't make it work. So I put that aside, but then I was like, oh, maybe I should put something else there. Like, I don't know why I was so adamant that something needed to go in that corner, but I really was. But yeah, so I didn't. The car did not make it. But I go ahead and glue down these little periods that are now basically enamel dots. I glue those down because we know that those aren't going to stay. I glue my heart down, and that pretty much finishes off my layout. So I've got some close-ups here for you if you would like to see. And I will see you soon for another layout process video. Have a good day. Bye.